I was talking with a friend of mine the other day, and he asked me, should the Browns fire their head coach, Freddie Kitchens? I was like, yeah, absolutely. Isn't that obvious? And I realized, maybe it's not obvious the Browns should fire their head coach. I was like, is it not clear? I thought it was clear, but apparently it's not. It's funny to me how both the Dallas Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns are massively underachieving given the talent they have. And the consensus in Dallas is, we got to fire our head coach. Jason Garrett's not good enough. We need a better coach who can use the tools we have in Dallas to win more football games. And yet in Cleveland, people are like, should we fire him? Should we? It's like, yes. You got to move on. Like, I don't understand. Like, what is the hesitation here? It's so clear. The Browns, in my opinion, are a very talented football team that are disorganized, they're undisciplined, they're messy, they're not being led in the right direction, they don't have the head coach and an offensive coordinator, frankly, putting their offense in the best position to be successful and take advantage of the incredibly good talent they have in Cleveland. The Browns are 5-7, underachieving. That's the head coach's fault. That's a disorganized organization, I guess is the word, with a bad head coach who's not doing good enough. And I have nothing, it's not personal against Freddie Kitchens. He seems like a good man. I'd love to get a beer with him. Very friendly. I love his interviews. He seems like a nice person who's just in way over his head, who's not good enough to be the head coach of the Browns. It's a solid, talented roster that's being mismanaged. And honestly, I think that the Vikings offensive coordinator, Kevin Stefanski, could come into Cleveland, use the pieces they have on offense, and build an incredible, really good offense with the players and talent they have. Kevin Stefanski's a smart play designer. If I'm the Browns, I say, hey, that guy in Minnesota, we're going to take him. He's our new head coach. So number one, you got to fire Freddie Kitchens. I really very rarely call for people's jobs. I think people criticize me of defending for people. People criticize me of defending guys for too long, right? I'd fire Freddie Kitchens. The dude is in way over his head. And did you see the shirt he wore the other day, by the way? He wore a shirt. Freddie Kitchens wore a shirt this weekend talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Browns fight they got into a couple weeks ago. And the shirt said, Pittsburgh started it. To me, that's all you need. You go, okay, this guy doesn't get it. He's done. We're going to fire him. That's your head coach. Just imagine, would John Harbaugh of the Ravens, would Pete Carroll, would Bill Belichick ever be seen wearing a shirt like that? No way. Absolutely not, because it's stupid. It's dumb. That's a bad leadership move. Why would you do that? Why would you rile people up? Why would you go there? Don't wear that shirt. That right there was enough to me to go, okay, Freddie Kitchens isn't the guy. You walk away. And people go, Zach, it's just a shirt. Or, well, yeah, Zach, but Freddie Kitchens isn't, he's not John Harbaugh or Pete Carroll or Bill Belichick. He's his own person doing his own thing. Yeah, he isn't one of those guys. Absolutely, he's not one of those guys because those coaches win games. Freddie Kitchens does not. To me, it's clear Freddie Kitchens is not the answer in Cleveland. He's not good enough. And so the Browns need to fire their head coach and then begin to demand more from Baker Mayfield. Bluster is not enough. I learned a new word yesterday. I was talking to my dad. The word is bluster. Here's a definition of bluster. It means to talk in a loud, aggressive way with little effect. It's noisy, inflated talk. Or in Baker's case, because he's the Browns quarterback and their mascot is the dog, I would say that Baker is barking loudly with little to no effect. Baker makes a lot of noise, and he doesn't win. Baker needs to shut his mouth and get to work this offseason. He needs to put his head down and work. And if I'm in Cleveland, if I'm a Browns fan, I begin to demand more from Baker Mayfield. I begin to demand better leadership. I say stop with the quotes, stop with the headlines, shut your mouth, and get to work. I believe in Baker Mayfield a lot. I did a film analysis of him. I think I literally called it How Baker Mayfield Can Become an Elite Quarterback. Because I watch the film and I say, the tools are all there. Arm strength, accuracy, velocity, understanding. He has all the tools to become an elite quarterback, but he has to do the work. You don't just show up with good players around you and become an elite quarterback. Last offseason, Baker Mayfield very clearly did a ton of commercials. I see him in Hulu ads, in insurance ads, in like I think like there's other things too. Like I've seen so many commercials with Baker Mayfield this year, and I mean, look, personally, like to be very, very honest, and I try to be fair, I actually really like the Baker Mayfield insurance commercials. There are ones where it's like at home with Baker Mayfield, and they actually make me laugh. There's one where he's like walking around the Browns stadium, and it's supposed to be his home. And so he's walking around this gigantic facility, beep, and he's trying to find a smoke alarm going off. I've done that same thing in my apartment, and I go like, I can't find where the smoke alarm is. And Baker Mayfield's doing the same thing on a larger scale. It made me laugh. And I acknowledge the At Home with Baker Mayfield commercials I think are hilarious and funny. But doing commercials in the offseason is not only time-consuming, it also drains your emotional energy. And it seems to me like Baker's agent, right? I'll put it on the agent instead of Baker Mayfield, but it seems like Baker's agent was like, hey, Baker, let's do as many commercials as we possibly can. And you know what that takes away from? Football. Do a commercial. Tom Brady does commercials. And Tom Brady's the most dedicated, hardworking guy I've ever, I think, literally ever to play in the NFL, as far as a quarterback, who spends time watching film every single day. He goes to Montana and trains, and that's all he does. I have no doubt Tom Brady watches a ton of film in the offseason. He's working all year round. And even Tom Brady does an Aston Martin commercial once a year. Fine, do a commercial. Don't do 40 commercials. Baker Mayfield, I think he needs to work this offseason. Instead of worrying about commercials and this and that, this offseason he needs to put his head down and work. Go get a facility, sit secluded, get better footwork, do VR training, virtual reality, where you study the offense, watch a bunch of film. Get better. Put your head down, make adjustments, and get better. Because Baker Mayfield has the tools to succeed as the quarterback in Cleveland. He has what it takes, in my opinion. And if you're a Browns fan, you had better begin to demand more. Because what Baker Mayfield's doing this year doesn't cut it. He's very talented, but he needs to do the work and become a better quarterback. And if you're in Cleveland, if you're a Browns fan, I challenge you, demand more from your quarterback. When you see him screwing around on social media, say, hey, Baker, what are you doing? That's not, your reaction shouldn't be to like, oh, we love how much he talks and we love how much he does this. If that's your reaction as a Browns fan, you're wrong. You got to, instead of getting excited when your quarterback mouths off and does headline stuff that begs for a headline, when you see Baker Mayfield in the media, you should go, Baker, shut up and get to work. It's not working right now in Cleveland, and it's because the quarterback, frankly, hasn't been good enough this year. You can blame coaches, you can blame whatever you want, but the truth is, in the offseason, Baker had better do the work to get better, make adjustments, and improve. If you're a Browns fan, demand more from your quarterback next year, and this offseason, demand more from Baker Mayfield.